Hello, everyone. Welcome to Q&A Live with Attorney JV. I am Attorney JV, Aces and Queens Q&A mentor, and your pageantry insider. So, guys, it's a Wednesday night, and it's weird to have a live with Attorney JV. Pero instead of a What's My Score na usually nilalabas natin every Wednesday, I decided to, ride the Miss Universe bandwagon. And what better way to do that than to go through the past Miss Universe questions. So, tonight, test naman natin ano ba talaga ang Q&A skills ni Attorney JV. So, guys, before we begin, please watch this. Alright, I had technical difficulties there, but that was supposed to have a background music. So guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, we have a reverse Q&A session. This is your opportunity to ask Attorney JV your questions as well. What are the questions that you want to ask Rabia? May Q&A training kami bukas. Ano pa ba ang gusto nyong mga malaman ng mga sagot for some of the most difficult Q&A questions ever asked on any pageant stage? So tonight, medyo weird naman kung I will be asking these questions myself, right? So, I've invited someone, a future YouTube superstar, a law student, a future lawyer also, no other than Mr. John Michael Suelo. Hi, JM.
Hello, Attorney. Good evening. And of course, good evening to your viewers and subscribers here on your YouTube channel. I'm very excited for our reverse Q&A tonight. Yan. Of course, ang viewers naman natin ang may chance ngayon na magtanong ng questions sa'yo. Ready ka ba, Attorney?
I know. No, I don't feel any pressure right now. No. But thank you so much, JM, for joining me. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Guys, the reason why we invited JM as my first guest co-host in Reverse Q&A in Q&A Live with Attorney JV, yung naging viral video of my interview about Rabia's chances of winning in Miss Universe. Interview po yon na sa akin ni JM. So follow him on John Michael Suelo on YouTube so you can see the original interview on his channel. So JM, kaya mo na ba? Ikaw na ba ang mag-host? Can you take over our show for tonight?
Alright, Attorney. We will try. Siyempre, isa rin akong mentee mo, no? Trainee. Sabihin na natin na ganun. Pero we are very excited. And yes, tama nga, no? We are very happy dahil nag-trending nga yung video natin on the chances of Rabia Mateo sa Miss Universe. So, you can check it out on my YouTube channel, John Michael Suelo. So, please also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Ayan. So, we are reminding, of course, our viewers right now. So, meron ilang viewers na ba tayo? Around 70 watching now. And of course,
wow.
Mas ang tumataas, Attorney, marami pa yan mamaya. So, we would like to remind all our viewers to kindly comment down below your questions because we will ask those questions to Attorney JV. Ayan. Ang dami nating tanong for Attorney JV, no? Maraming mga kaganapan at mga nangyayari these past few days sa Miss Universe.
Yes.
Pero syempre, aside from that, Attorney, meron din kaming mga inihandang question para sa'yo. Ito yung mga hindi na natin mga past Miss Universe questions. So, handa ka na ba dyan, Attorney?
I will try my best.
So, alright, so, please, yun, meron na tayong mga tanong. Sorry, I'm checking out kasi may some questions na tayo na nababasa ngayon. So, we will get to read those questions in a little bit, but umpisahan na natin. We will jumpstart everything with our past Miss U question. Ready? Are you ready?
Ready.
Ba't kinakabahan ka, Attorney?
Actually, I'm having fun. I love answering questions myself. You can't be a good Q&A trainer, I think, if you don't love that aspect of the training when you get to answer the questions yourself. So, yes, I'm ready.
Ayun, Attorney, let's start with our first Miss U question.
Okay.
our first Miss You question. So let's begin with the question that was asked to Miss Universe 1973. That's Miss Universe 1969, Miss Gloria Diaz. So the question is, in the next day or so, a man will land on the moon. If a man from the moon landed in your hometown, what would you do to entertain him?
I guess if you've been in the moon, you would want to eat something fresh, right? You probably have been eating frozen stuff that was pre-packed for you by the people at NASA. I would prepare a fiesta. I would prepare the best Filipino food that I can think of and wrap that with a lot of love and a lot of Filipino hospitality. Thank you.
Wow, that was a very concise answer, Attorney. Pero we're very much interested to know about what you just answered. So let's get into that, deeper. So as you said, diba, that's all about hospitality. Ano ba yung mga favorite mong lutuin?
Yeah.
Or gawin or ihanda sa mga bisita mo?
Actually, sa bahay kasi, ang tatay ko ang nagluluto ng Filipino food. But so ako usually mga foreign food like Italian food, Japanese. But when I lived in Japan, natuto akong magluto ng Filipino food. So I love to cook now I love to cook adobo. I love to cook sinigang. Hindi ko ba nakukuha yung recipe na tatay ko for caldereta. His caldereta is amazing. Really, really good. And I hope Rabia is able to share some of that when she becomes Miss Universe.
Yes. Attorney, may chances ba na magkaroon ka ng mga, sabihin na natin, cooking show or cooking episode dito sa yung YouTube channel?
Ako, that's probably not something I'm really good at. I will leave that to my cousin. Guys, follow my cousin, the kitchen series with Anna. Follow her on her YouTube channel also. She's the one who's a really good cook in the family. Shout out to Anna, so if you're watching.
Alright, so we're just getting started. That was just the first Past Miss You question. And that's how Attorney J will answer that question. Ngayon naman, let's try to ask some of the questions from the viewers, from our subscribers. Attorney JV, are you ready for the question of our viewers and subscribers tonight? Wow, hello to our 92 viewers tonight.
Hello everyone!
Ayan, kasi nga, sa mga karating lang din, this is reverse Q&A. We have always seen Attorney JV training beauty queens for the Q&A portion. Now, it's time for us to ask questions to Attorney JV. So, let's start with a very basic question. This was asked so many times. So, Pageant Buzz. Alright, so it's from Pageant Buzz. Shout out to Pageant Buzz. Sabi niya, or the question is, how would you describe yourself a blind person?
Oh, interesting question. Oh, yourself or your country? Is it this question?
Sorry. I think that was asked twice. So how would you introduce or describe yourself or your country to a blind person?
A blind person means that he has not lost his or her other senses. And therefore, I think the best way to learn something is through experience. I would let him experience my sound. I will let him or her experience my smell. I would even allow him or her to touch my hands. That's the best way to describe who I am, because I'm more than the physical. I'm more than the outside. I'm more than what meets the eye. And we'll have a conversation, and maybe through those conversations, he or she will get to know me a little bit more. Thank you. Sorry, hindi ko na nakasano yung country kasi medyo mahirap yung yourself in your country. Now, JM, this is a difficult question to answer because these are two different things that you need to describe in one answer, right? So my recommendation always to the girls is if there's a complicated question like this, pick one. You only have 30 seconds. And therefore, you pick one and then go with it. Because at the end of the day, they will remember what you said, not what the question was.
Wow, that's a very interesting lesson for all of us who are watching right now. So let's go to another question from Jacob Latun. Hi, Jacob. So the question is, why the movements like Black Lives Matter important for the fight against racism?
Yeah. Movements are incredibly important for absolutely anything that is worth fighting for, because movements, they gather people. They gather people not just in conversation but also in action. When we saw the Black Lives movement, put a lot of emphasis on what happened to George Floyd, people banded together, not just blacks, but all races banded together to make sure that changes in the police systems are in place, to make sure that justice for George Floyd was achieved. And I think that's really the relevance of movements. It brings people together in conversation and action.
Ayun, thank you so much, attorney. Grabe.
Shout out to, by the way, JM, shout out to Pauline Amelinks. Si Pauline Amelinks ang sumagot nung in conversation and action in the Miss Universe Philippines stage. Naalala ko yon because it was Pauline who said that first in Miss Universe Philippines 2020. Hi, Pau Pau.
Hello po, Miss Pauline. So thank you so much, attorney, for answering that question. And thank you to Jacob for asking that question. And I think one of the controversial topics during, the past few hours, siguro, was about Miss Nova Stevens. And I'm sure you're very much aware of that, attorney. And I'm sure everybody's very much curious about what's your take on what's happening recently. Philippines has been known to have the largest fan base, when it comes to pageantry. However, of course, Miss Nova Stevens, Miss Universe Canada 2020 speaks out on her Instagram account that she herself has been receiving hate because of her color. And it turns out that the photo she posted, had comments. How do you think pageant fans should behave when supporting a candidate?
Yeah. There are things that are absolutely despicable, and what racism is one of them. No one should be judged by the color of their skin. They should be judged, according to Martin Luther King, by the content of their character. And I am a big supporter of Nova. Last Saturday when I had a live with For the Philippines and Ian, ang sinabi ko na dalawan nakikita ko na nag-holding hands doon sa top 2. I don't think gagawin nila yon kasi COVID, diba? But I really saw Nova and Rabia in the top 2 of Miss Universe 2020. And I am saddened that there are some Filipinos who have targeted racist comments against her. These are despicable. I will not make excuses for them. And I think that, at the end of the day, we have to look at it from within our hearts. Right? We have to dig deep. We have to ask ourselves, if we were in her position, how would we feel if we were discriminated because of the fact that we are Filipinos, because we are brown, because we have smaller eyes, because we look different from the Caucasian majority in Europe and in the United States of America? How would we feel? And perhaps after we ask them that question, perhaps they will understand a little bit more why racism is such a bad thing. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Attorney JV. And I think it's a reminder for all of us to also be careful whenever, we share our opinions. And I think I would agree with Lutong Pinoy at iba pa that #no hate, just love. Let us just support our very own Miss Rabia Mateo. Right?
Yes, and it's distracting, diba, for Rabia. Rabia even had to go online and apologize for that. She didn't have to. It wasn't her that spoke those words. And knowing Rabia, she would never think even those words. And I personally am saddened by that, because I really think that Nova is an incredibly beautiful woman.
Attorney JV, I'm curious, and I think some of our viewers would also be curious about it. Will this affect the chances of Rabia during the competition?
I don't think so. There are a lot of negative things happening all over the world, and it shouldn't affect one person. It shouldn't affect a person, albeit the fact that she's representing the entire Philippines. she is there competing primarily for herself and for her country. And if we will allow, the bad seeds of our community affect each and every one of us, I think that's an unfair thing to say. So no, I don't think it's gonna affect Rabi at all.
Ayun, attorney, maraming salamat po for sharing your views. Magbabasa muna tayo ng ilan sa mga sinasabi ng ating mga viewers.
Sure.
Attorney, meron na pong around 114 and counting viewers right now. May mga nagsasabi, wow, ang galing niyo po, attorney. And yun, bakit ang galing? Wow, that's great. Meron pang pa-score, attorney. Meron pang 98, 98.5.
Okay sa akin yung score niyan. Ganun ang mga score ni Lara Dota noon in 2000. So, I'm very happy with that score. Thank you.
Kabugera, sabi ni Secret Agent, Jacob, Mike drop daw. Ayan, ang daming mga scoring. Attorney, ikaw na yung ini-score nila ngayon.
Okay lang. You can't be a good Q&A mentor unless you can put yourself out there and actually be tested. Right? So, yes. Thank you so much for all of the feedback. And, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't have all of the answers to the questions. But, I try my best.
Ayun. Attorney, siguro entertain pa tayo ng another question.
Sure.
Let's get into a more personal question about your stand as a person. There's a question here right now about civil union. And I have also seen another one on same-sex marriage. I think you can probably answer both questions about what's your take on civil union and what's your take on same-sex marriage. Because these two are two different things, right? So, what's your take on that, attorney?
I understand that the family code defines marriage as a union between a man and a woman. That's in the family code. But guys, that is not in the Constitution. The Constitution does not limit the definition of marriage between heterosexual cisgendered couples. And I think that it is about time that the Philippines adopts marriage equality for every single Filipino, regardless of their sexual or gender preferences. I think that the Constitution is all about love. Even the preamble talks about love. JM, you know that. The preamble, we're the only constitution in the world where love is indicated in its fundamental law. And if love is celebrated by the Constitution itself, why should the government prohibit people from expressing their love? And why should the government not protect that love through providing marriage equality, not just civil union, marriage equality to every single Filipino? Thank you. Pwede.
And of course, we understand that all of us here do have different shares of beliefs and opinions, and that is the answer of Attorney JB. And of course, we should respect that. So thank you so much, Attorney, for sharing that. And I've seen another question right here.
Yes.
Do you think? I can't find it to ask about it, but I've seen something like, nabasa ko lang siya kanina kasi ang dami ng mga questions. Yung tanong, attorney, is should the youth engage in political issues? Or in another way, let's put it this way, that is it okay for the youth to express their views and opinions when it comes to political issues?
Absolutely. First of all, the law defines the youth as someone below 25 years of age. Well, I'm using the party list law as my reference for that because a party list representative to the Congress must be below 25 years of age, right? So, matanda na yun for me. In my opinion, that's already old enough for you to have political beliefs. But even teenagers, those that are below 18 years of age, absolutely, they should have political opinions. Absolutely, they should educate themselves, diba? They should know what's happening in their world. They should know how their world is being run, how their government is functioning. Because at the end of the day, the youth is our future. The youth is the future of this country. And if we don't start them young, if we don't give them the political beliefs and opinions and mold that as young as in their teenage years, and we will not solve the problems of this country because we are shielding them from the realities of this world. And that's never a good thing.
Wow. Thank you, Attorney. Attorney, I'm curious, and of course, some of the viewers probably would wonder, how do you answer these kinds of questions? Like, another tip, coming from you. When we ask about questions that are sometimes, political inclined questions, how do you answer? How should you answer it in a way that it would not offend anyone?
I'm not the best person to to ask this question because sometimes I don't mince my words whenever I believe something. So I'm not really the best person to answer this. But you know what? If you speak from the heart, if you speak authentically, if your intention is not to hurt, diminish, devalue other people, then even if you have strong, controversial political opinions, then people should be able to respect that, diba? As long as you're not intentionally harming other people with your statements, even if it's sabi ko nga palagi, it's okay to be controversial. It's not okay to be offensive. Those are two different things. So to anyone who's, who wants to join pageants, it's okay to be controversial. Have an opinion, have a voice. You're not a mouthpiece for people. You are speaking for yourself. So, go for it. As long as you're not attacking people based on their race, you're not attacking people personally, calling them names, then being political is perfectly okay for me.
Ayun, thank you so much, Attorney. Siguro we will entertain more of the questions of
Sure.
our audience in a little while. And of course, to our viewers, umabot na po tayo ng 128 and counting. So, parami na po ng parami yung mga viewers natin. So, hello po sa inyong lahat. Once again, welcome to Reverse Q&A with Attorney JV. We're asking past Miss Universe questions to Attorney JV. And of course, it's your chance to ask questions to Attorney JB. And we would also like to promote, to check out yung ating video, Attorney, yung collaboration natin, yung chances chances nila Bia Mateo sa Miss Universe on my YouTube channel, John Michael Suelo. So please don't also forget to click on subscribe. So yun, Attorney, punta na po tayo sa ating next Miss You question. Ayan, yung tinanong po kay Miss Margie Moran, Miss Universe 1973. Ayan. Ito. So the question, Attorney, is, let's make believe that all of a sudden you had $1 million. What's the first thing you would buy and why would you buy it? Attorney?
You know what I would buy, JM? I would buy additional equipment for my YouTube lives. I am enjoying this opportunity to speak to so many people through a platform that is cross-country, that is universal, and I love it. I truly believe in the power of social media and the ability of social media to empower people through learning, through exchanging conversations with people from all over the world. So I will be investing in that, in making sure that my voice is heard and that people can communicate with me as well. Thank you.
Ayun. Thank you so much, Attorney. And I'm sure with that gift of yours, when it comes to your communication skills on training queens, I'm sure you will really help a lot of people change their lives. And as we know, pageantry and you being able to train a lot of ladies would really have help, right? So investing on your YouTube equipments, on your camera, will elevate, these opportunities to really serve a lot of, people. And Attorney, yes,
JM, that's a really difficult question to stand out in, ha? Medyo mahirap siya na parang, imaginein mo kung yung kasama mo, yung kalaban mo sa top 5, ang tinanong is about marriage equality. Or tinanong sobrang important social issue. Tas tinanong sa'yo, what will you do with $1 million? Medyo mahirap mag-shine doon, ha? it's difficult. So it's one of those questions that you have to dig deep to look for a way to elevate the answer in the end. Diba? That's why here my strategy was, to look for a way to tie it to an important social issue and to, look at it from a broader, more principled level. So that's another strategy that we can share with people who are watching us right now.
Thank you, Attorney. What I like most about your YouTube channel, kasi you're really sharing a lot of things, and whenever we watch your YouTube contents, we really something from there. So parang it's really more of educational contents, and at the same time you're really enjoying you are showing everyone your passion on beauty pageants. At the same time, you're also shedding light to a lot of social issues happening here in the world. So that's something really Attorney.
Actually, JM, alam mo, marami nga nagsasabi, wag daw ako masyadong mag-share ng maraming mga tips and techniques here on YouTube. Because, meron daw, baka makopya daw, sagot ko palagi, ito guys, joke lang to, wag nyo akong seryosohin. Ang joke ko palagi dyan, JM, I always say, it's okay guys, they still don't have me daily as their trainer. So wala pa rin silang direct feedback from me, diba? So, but kidding aside, Q&A training is more than, watching videos online. Q&A training is looking for a mentor that you can have regular conversations with. Diba? Hindi kasi one way ang Q&A eh. That's a common misconception of people, that Q&A is one way. You're not lecturing. You're not debating with the judges. You're having a conversation with them. And therefore, hindi siya praktisan ng pagalingan ng declamation contest. Dapat marunong kang makinig. Kailangan marunong kang makipagtalaktakan with the person that you're speaking with. And that involves a lot of one-on-one, face-to-face, direct feedback conversation type training. So, guys, don't worry.
Ayun, thank you so much, Attorney. And I think one of the things that I also learned from you, and also with my experience before joining pageants, it's really more of your personal values within yourself whenever we answer, questions, because it's a different thing when you're in law school, and that it has to be based on the law. But when it comes to pageant questions, it has to really showcase who you are and what you really believe in. So,
exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
And as I always say, JM, as I always say, and I said this in the video for Sam Bernardo, with my What's My Score, I always said that, no one is expected on that pageant stage to be an expert at everything. Even if you're asked a science and technology question, no one is expecting you to provide an in-depth analysis of the scientific implications of, say, deforestation in the Amazon forest. No one is expecting you to say those things. What they're expecting you to say, or to do, or to have rather, is have an opinion. Is to share that opinion about important social issues that affect our world. That's what pageant Q&A is all about. It's never about the expertise.
Ayun, thank you. It's another point to consider whenever we're answering pageant questions. And I think it's also applicable to probably even job interviews. Kanina may nakita nga ako dito yata gusto magpa-train sa'yo, Attorney, because they will be defending for their thesis ba yun?
Well, it's expert din ako dyan because I'm a thesis panelist. I've been a thesis panelist since 2011. So I've been doing that for a long time.
Ayan. Attorney, ito ay very interesting question. A young teen, sabi ni Balak Kubak, wow. A young teen is at the crossroad of his or her life when choosing to be or not to be part of the LGBT community. What advice would you give him or her?
My advice to this person is to search for a mentor, to search for people who share the same experiences, who've gone through the same process, and have regular conversations with them. It is a difficult time. This age is really difficult. Definitely, I love the use of the word crossroads because there are so many pressures on young people these days, and that includes the pressure to live a heteronormative lifestyle, right? And I cannot blame Balakubak. Sorry. I cannot blame Balakubak for feeling that way. Look for people that can guide you. Look for people who can give you inspiration. Look for people who can assure you that it's okay and 100% okay to be you.
Attorney, saan mo ba kinukuha yung mga... Nakaka-nosebleed, attorney, ha?
Walang ano yan, ha, guys, ha? Walang ano yan, walang prep yan. These are all questions from the audience. So, we didn't prepare for these questions.
and I actually picked questions in random order. So, hindi siya magkakasunod.
Yeah, that's true.
Ayan.
I think it's...
To shout out din po For the Philippines by Oyel De Leon. Hello po, thank you for watching. So please follow them on their Instagram account For the Philippines.
And YouTube.
And YouTube also.
YouTube. Oyel just released a video yesterday on Rabia, one of his IG lives. It's now up on YouTube. So watch that. Ang ganda ng interview niya kay Rabia.
Ayun, so guys, viewers, subscribers, please go and watch For the Philippines, Sir Oyel, to sa mga bago niyang YouTube contents as well. Ayan, punta po tayo. Attorney, ang daming mga, syempre, basahin muna natin ito. Sabi ni David Mendoza,
okay.
Galing ni Attorney JV. Such intelligence and wit.
Oh,
thank
you so
sexy.
DM is the key, though. Kidding! Char!
Ayun. Sino pa? Ayan. Ang dami actually. Wait lang po. Ayan. Attorney, if there's one bad thing that you can change in the world, what would it be and why? Ito sabi ni Carl's Elms Serson.
Sorry, hindi ko rin...
bad thing.
There. This one. Carl's.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that you can change in the world, what would it be? And why? If there's one thing I would change poverty. Poverty is the cause of so many evils in this world. When people are poor, people cannot eat. When people cannot eat, they think of ways. They look for ways to find food. And if only there is solutions for the great inequities of our world, there's great concentration of wealth in a few thousand people in this world. And that's a shame. And that's one of the greatest tragedies of humanity, that there's so much money concentrated in a few people, and yet there are billions of people who do not have access to the basic necessities of life, such as food, water, clothing, education, healthcare. And if there's one thing that I would change, it's poverty through removing the great inequities of our world.
Thank you so much, Attorney. Attorney, napakaganda ng sagot. I'm curious, kasi ito, laging sinasabi na, okay, poverty. Sa tingin mo ba, paano ba ito masusolusyonan tong poverty na to? In your point of view?
Well, again, the concentration of wealth is an issue, and there are many solutions for removing wealth inequities. Right? Number one, higher taxes for the rich. If there are higher taxes for the rich, there will be better social services for the poor. Yes, medyo may pagka-social democrat ako, may pagka-Bernie Sanders ako, to be honest. Also, there are like inheritance taxes should be increased. In fact, sobrang taas dapat ang inheritance taxes natin in the Philippines because poverty is usually generational. And wealth is also generational. And what happens is the rich people are only giving their money to their children. And it is not being distributed equally to a majority of Filipinos. And that is That includes land ownership. That includes money. That includes stocks in corporations. That includes anything that holds value. And if we remove those inequities, I think we'll make great strides in terms of poverty alleviation in the country. Some would say education, some would say that. But education puts the burden on the poor. Education puts the burden on the poor to work harder. I don't believe that working hard is the solution to poverty. I think the solution is to remove those structural boundaries, those structural barriers that keep people poor.
Ayun. Wow. Wow. Attorney, so we have around, padami na ng padami yung ating mga viewers ngayon. Merong isa pang question dito. What have you done in your community to show leadership?
It's a good question. I have been an educator since, I guess, in the early 2000s. I've been a debate coach for high school, for college. I was a moot court coach also for Ateneo Law School and even the University of Tokyo. I have been teaching law since 2012 at the FU Institute of Law. I've taught so many subjects, and until now I'm still teaching and mentoring. Teaching the future generations is a great way to show leadership because it means that you're not leading from the front, you're leading from the back. You're empowering people through providing them the knowledge, the capabilities, even the correct mindsets and behaviors to succeed in life. Because not one person, that's the biggest misconception about leadership, that we rely a lot on that one person leading us for us to have a better stead in life. No. Leadership is about galvanizing the entire community towards one goal, because not one person cannot do it all. It has to be the whole of community. It has to be the whole of society that works together towards these changes that we want to see in our communities.
Boom. Mic drop na naman po tayo dyan.
Thank you so much. But, thank you for all of the sweet words, JM, about that. But you know what? That's why I love this platform. Kasi parang, finally, di ba, dati kasi I can share my views through my students, di ba? But now through YouTube, I can reach so many more people with my ideas, and I'm loving it. So thank you guys for coming up here and joining us in these conversations. Let's have these conversations more. Please comment there. If you don't like my opinions, we can have a debate. I'm okay with that. Debate is essential in any democracy. So I appreciate any feedback that you have.
Ayan. Attorney, syempre promote na muna natin yung yung video natin, Chances ni Rabia. Sa Miss Universe, dun po sa YouTube channel ko, John Michael Suelo. So thank you so much po, Attorney, for having me here. I'm really enjoying this session kasi most of the time, you're the one who asks questions to the ladies. Ngayon naman, ikaw yung tinatanong namin. And I'm sure there's a lot of questions pa that, of course, our viewers would like to ask, pero yung iba nahihiya lang, no? Pero there's a question here. Attorney, I would like to just basahin ko na lang to. Sabi ni Rafael de los Santos, sana babae ka na ng Attorney JB at ikaw na lang sumali sa Miss Universe 2021.
Masaya na po ako. Masaya po ako nagtuturo. Masaya ako that I can be a part of Rabia's journey and the future queens that will be representing the Philippines. It gives me a lot of pleasure that I can share my thoughts, my opinions, and influence the influencers also. That's why I do this, JM. That's why we're doing this for Aces and Queens for free. We don't get paid for when you become a member of Aces and Queens. If you become an official member of the team, you are we do the training for free. So yeah.
Yun. Attorney, ito question naman ni Paper Flowers. How do you pronounce that? Flowers? Flowers? If there is one OFW who wants to go back to the Philippines infected with a new strain of the virus, should the government let that person enter and risk the lives of Filipino majority?
Absolutely, the government should allow that Filipino to come home. He or she is a Filipino, is entitled to the benefits of the protection of the state. And if the concern is that this person will be carrying a new strain of the virus, the government should be able to provide the protections to ensure that that strain of the virus will not spread in the country. There are protocols that should be adopted. There are safety protocols such as quarantines, testing, that can prevent the spread of that virus. But at the end of the day, we have to exercise empathy. We have to exercise the fact that they are our citizens, that they are our Filipino brothers and sisters. And where else will they go if we do not accept them, if they cannot come home to their country?
Yun, thank you so much, Attorney. So, ito another question by Darwin Acebuche or Acebuque. Question is, what is your personal take on makeup brands who use animals for cosmetics testing?
I am against animal testing, and therefore I do not support makeup brands that conduct animal testing. I think that there are a lot of hypoallergenic, friendly to the environment brands out there that we can use, that we can buy. So I would encourage everyone to use the safer alternatives that are friendlier to our animals, because you know what, we have a responsibility of stewardship towards all living animals or all living creatures in this world. And if we do not exercise that obligation of stewardship correctly, nature will hit us back 3 times, 4 times, and that's not something we want to experience.
Wow. Thank you so much, Attorney. Ang punta tayo dito sa question ni Zelix Bugen.
How do you spell it?
Bugen. Bogun. Bugen? Basta sabi ni Zelix, ang tanong niya, kung magkasalungat ang kanilang paniniwala, ano ang mas susundin mo? Alituntunin ng relihiyon o alituntunin ng ating batas?
Neither. I will abide by the dictates of my conscience. My conscience is not necessarily dictated by religion. It is not necessarily dictated by the law. But it is dictated by a strong moral core that prioritizes the human self, that prioritizes love, that prioritizes empathy to other people. So no, I will neither use both. I will neither use the law or religion to make me decide on one course of action or another, because I believe in my ethics, I believe in my morals, and I will stick to that.
Yun. Wow. Attorney, ito, isa pa. I think we're enjoying this conversation.
I know!
Gusto natin itanong sa'yo, Attorney. Ito, before tayo pumunta sa next past Miss Universe question.
Sure.
Actually, another past Miss Universe question. This was asked to Miss Janine Togonon in Miss Universe 2012. This is from Robbie Del Mundo. As an international ambassador, do you believe that speaking English should be a prerequisite to being Miss Universe? Why or why not?
A little bit, yes. Not necessarily first language, not even English as second language, but perhaps a little bit of English as foreign language, because the Miss Universe organization is an organization based in the United States of America. The US is an English-speaking country primarily. There are a lot of Spanish-speaking people in the US, that's correct, and other minor languages such as German, that is being spoken in the US. But primarily, it is an organization based out of New York. So a little bit of English will go a long way. But when it comes to answering Q&A in the Miss Universe stage, I'm perfectly fine if they speak their language, because the Q&A in Miss Universe is a performance. And if they cannot perform well, if they are forced to speak in English, then that's a disservice to all of the beautiful women that will be competing on the Miss Universe stage. They should be able to speak with their native language, because that's the only way they can truly shine. That's the only way they can truly become and show their authentic selves on the Miss Universe stage.
Wow. Speechless.
Nagulat ka
Atty.
doon, ano? Akala mo, sasabihin ko lang bigla, kailangan marunong mag-English. Pero no, may pihit. Pero syempre naman, pagdating sa Q&A, kailangan pagbigyan natin ng hindi marunong mag-English. Di ba? Hindi naman prerequisite yon para manalo ka doon sa stage. But a little bit of English should be required naman. Yung hi, hello, hindi ka man lang makapag-hi, hello. Hindi ka man lang makapagsabi na, pwede po bang pumunta muna ako sa banyo kasi kailangan ko pong pumunta ng banyo. I mean, these minor things. Mahihirapan ng isang babae maging successful as a Miss Universe if you cannot communicate with the people that you're working with Miss Paula Sugar, with Ma'am Esther, 'di ba? Kung hindi ka, kahit yung mga malilit na English, wala ka man lang.
And of course, attorney, as we know, the pageantry has now shifted to from being just a beautiful face to someone who can become a spokesperson of the organization. So, you really have to rally a lot of people behind, right, attorney? So, I think it matters really to have to know the language.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, JM, that I am not saying that that English is the most important language. I'm not saying that. I'm very fluent in English, pero matatasin ako mag-Tagalog. But there is a lot to be said about the beauty of the individual languages, especially in a country like ours. We're multilingual, and we should celebrate multilingualism. Diba? We have to celebrate Hiligaynon, Bisaya, Ilocano, Chabacano. We have to celebrate all of them because that brings a lot of cultural idiosyncrasies that are close to our hearts, diba? Language is a big part of who we are as people.
Ayun. Thank you so much, attorney, for sharing that. Sabi na nga dito kanina ni Joe Al, ilabas na ang notebook, mga kapitbalor.
Yun yung sinasabi ko. Marami nagko-comment nga na marami daw akong ibinibigay na mga idea. Sabi ko, guys, kailangan, iba pa rin naman yung training na na one-on-one kami, di ba? Iba yun.
Yes. Attorney, sige. Before tayo pumunta sa iba pang mga questions, tanungin na muna natin yung third past Miss You question. This was asked, of course, to Miss Pia Wurtzbach, our Miss Universe 2015. Ayan. Attorney, how would you answer this question? Earlier this year, there was a controversy in Philippines about the United States reopening a base in your country. Do you think the United States should have a military presence in your country? And why?
And this will be a very controversial answer, JM. But I think that some level of U.S. presence in the Philippines is necessary just to counteract the threat of Chinese aggression in the Philippines. The international geopolitical relations is so complex. And while I would not want to have a base in the Philippines for the Americans, I would want to have the Americans on our side just to make sure that we can protect our sovereignty, just to make sure that we can protect what is rightfully ours in the West Philippine Sea. So yes, I would be okay with U.S. military presence in the country.
Wow. I thank you. Galing. Grabe.
Dapat pala sinabi ko, and I don't see any problem with that at all. Sabi nga ni Balakubak. Sorry, nakalimutan ko Balakubak. I forgot, sayang. Ganda sana nung impact statement. I forgot, sorry.
Yes. Good. Thank you so much, Attorney, for sharing your answer to that question. Attorney, ito I think you were able to, meron ka ba upcoming episode? Pwede ko bang sabihin yon?
Yes, on Saturday. No. On Saturday. On Saturday.
Ay, wag Saturday. So, surprise na lang yun.
On Saturday, we have Miss Mikey Andre, the heart. I always tell her she's the heart of Aces and Queens. We love her so much and I'm so excited to have the incomparable, the gorgeous, the beautiful, the talented Mikey Andre on Saturday in Conversations.
And of course, to make sense na rin dun sa sinabi ko kanina, abangan nyo po, of course, maraming mga surprise guests si Attorney JB sa mga upcoming niya ng mga shows. Kaya, lagi po tayo nakatutok sa kanyang YouTube channel. So, ayan. Ang daldal ko, attorney, sorry. Ikot yung mga upcoming guest mo. Pero, if you want to, baka may mga naisip kayo na gustong yung i-guest ni attorney sa kanyang YouTube channel, please feel free to also comment below para at least, di ba, malay natin mag-guest siya ni Attorney JV sa kanyang YouTube channel. So, that would also be something. And we are all looking forward to that. Let's proceed to the next question.
Meron akong gustong sagutin. Okay lang ba?
Sige, go ahead po.
Yung question ni Tatiana. Tatiana is one of our girls in Aces and Queens right now. She's only 18 years of age. But
Hi,
she's one of the best, she's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And Tatiana asks, Attorney JV, given the chance to gain immortality, would you want to live forever? You know, Tatiana, I would preface this answer by the fact that I watched Goblin last year because of the pandemic. And what Goblin, what Gong Yu has inspired in me is the notion that immortality is a curse, not a gift. Because immortality means that you will live a perpetual life that will never be with anyone else. You will be alone in perpetuity. Because if you're the only one living as an immortal, that is not life worth living. And I also believe that our time here on earth is so precious. And the reason why it is precious is because it is fleeting. And if I am given the chance to become immortal, I wouldn't want to do that because I would lose the preciousness that is this life. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, but that, I love you. I miss you. I'll see you on Friday.
Ayun. Attorney, gusto po natin muna mag-shoutout sa lahat po ng ating mga viewers ngayon. So, andyan na po tayo sa, umaabot na po, 190 and counting.
Yeah!
So, thank you for joining us tonight. Parang dapat 1 hour lang to, pero parang may extend tayo sa dami ng questions, attorney.
Okay lang, I'm having fun, and if the people are having fun, actually nasusustain natin yung 190, so go ahead lang. We can extend a little bit more.
Attorney, sabi ni Run Ready, attorney, I can listen to you forever. Wow.
Oh, thank you so much, Run Ready. You wouldn't want that because I'm so madaldal.
Sabi ni Jacob naman, sarap maging professor ni attorney.
Ay, naku.
Attorney, ano ka ba
kausapin mo yung estudyante.
Professor?
Kausapin mo yung mga estudyante ko, Jacob. Tingnan natin kung mag-a-agree sila sa'yo. Sorry, JM, I cut you off, but go ahead. You were asking something.
What kind of professor are you? Parang yun yung gusto natin, yun yung gusto malaman ni Jacob eh. Anong klase ka bang professor? Kasi syempre, kapag Q&A mentor, ano ka naman kapag isa kang law professor?
Pag Q&A mentor, I'm very nice. I like conversations with the girls. Pag law school, different. I think I have a reputation of being a terror prof. Kasi maraming nagda-drop sa classes ko even before the classes started. Parang I would start with like 45 students and then I would end with around 23 in the middle of the sem because so many people drop. And I don't necessarily feel good about that, but I do know that I will not lower my standards because I'm teaching the future officers of the court. I am teaching people who will be defending, indigents, where people's lives will be at the hands of the students that I am teaching. So I take it with a badge of honor. I am a terror in law school when I teach constitutional law or public international law, so be it. Because it is my responsibility to the court, to the bar, to make sure that only those who are qualified will become lawyers. Ayan, alam mo ba sa yung pagka-strict?
What's the attorney? Hindi. Thank you so much for sharing your other side, other side of Attorney JV. And I think I would agree with you because you're preparing law students for the bar examination or, to become future defenders of of those marginalized and underprivileged sectors
Yes.
of our community. So I think you really have that duty and responsibility to be able to teach law, as much as you can. So that's understandable, attorney. Yun yung tinatawag nating, di ba, attorney, Socratic method.
Yes, I'm very
of
Socratic.
teaching.
That's my style. Very Socratic.
Ayun. Attorney, punta po tayo doon. Salamat, attorney, dyan na. Punta po tayo doon sa question po na nawala. Ayun.
Sino nag-ask ng
Ayun.
question?
Ito, napaka-basic lang po to na question. I think, sige, what is your definition of love?
Oh my gosh.
Pero minsan, hirap nitong sagutin.
Yes, si Nathaniel ba yung nag-ask niyan? My definition...
Rain Patulot po.
Si Alyssa. Alright.
Alyssa.
Alyssa, hi Alyssa. Alyssa is sobrang loyal niyan. On IG here on YouTube, she always watches. Hi Alyssa, thank you so much for all of your support. My definition of love is one that is very personal because every single individual can and should be able to define what for them is love, right? Some people believe that love is sharing it with a partner. Some people believe that it's sharing it with their children. For people like me who do not have, who do not have a partner, who do not have children, my definition of love is one that is sharing. I love to share my knowledge, my experience, my education to my students and to my queens and aces and queens. Because if I'm not able to share that, I don't feel fulfilled. And I feel like love is one that requires a lot of fulfillment, both in your heart and in your mind. So that for me is my definition of love.
Wow. Punta tayo sa mind-boggling question. Sabi ni Brian A., is there such thing as a beautiful disaster?
Is there such a thing
disaster
as a beautiful disaster? This is a difficult question because it's so theoretical. I don't know what he means by this. But I will say this, that whenever there is a disaster, Ondoy, Yolanda, there's always something that comes out beautiful out of it. We see Filipino resilience. We see altruism. We see people working hand in hand through the concept of bayanihan. When at the end of the day, after a rain, there's always a rainbow, right? So disasters always bring this surge of resilience, a surge of belongingness, of community. And while it rose from a disaster, it eventually ended up as a beautiful thing. So maybe that's when there is such a thing as a beautiful disaster.
Wow. Attorney, punta po tayo dito sa tanong ulit ni Robbie Del Mundo. Tinanong ito sa Miss Universe 2019 Top 5.
Okay.
Government surveillance is used to keep many nations safe. Many nations and they're safe. So safety siguro. But some believe this invades our right to privacy. What is more important to you, privacy or security?
This was a question asked of Miss Thailand. I remember this question, and I share the answer of Pawin Suda of Fasay. Both are equally important to me. The privacy of the individual is a constitutionally protected right. We have to be protected in the privacy of our homes because without privacy, we are not us. We are not individuals. We cannot fully express who we are if there is Big Brother looking at our every single move. But at the same time, I also believe that the state has a duty to protect the entire of society through responsible, legally compliant surveillance mechanisms because those are in place. At the end of the day, if we don't protect the right of the individual to privacy, no one is safe. The entire society is not safe.
Ayun po. Attorney, Ito, napaka-controversial. We already actually answered yung question about kay Miss Nova, no? Miss Nova Stevens, yung kay
Yes.
Miss Canada. And I think after nitong live, you can replay this video to be able to get yung sagot ni, ni Attorney JV on that question. Pero another question that was raised, and I think it's in connection with that issue as well, tinanong ni Julio Bedeo. Hi, Attorney, sorry about this, but when Black Lives Matter, some of the Asians march with them to support and sending love for them, yet some of them are still bullying and hurting Asians badly. So what are your thoughts about Asian hate and Black Lives Matter?
To answer the question directly, we cannot generalize kasi right? The question of Julio generalizes that, you know, the same people who attended the Black Lives March are the same people that are bullying the Asians. I don't see a correlation there. I see individuals. I never generalize people. There are people, yes, that have targeted Asians because of this connotation that Asians brought the coronavirus to the United States of America. That is because of ignorance. And I think the best way to address racism is to have an open communication with the other members of the society. I know it's a cliche, but with communication comes listening, and with listening comes understanding, and with understanding comes empathy. If you are not able to empathize with the other members of society because of their racial background, then peace can never be achieved. And if we are not able to listen, nothing can prosper. So I think listening communication is the key.
Thank you, Attorney. Punta tayo sa tanong ni Jacob Letun. What does ambition mean to you? And how do you encourage the ambition in other people?
Good question. Ambition is one's vision for him or herself. Right? Some people have lesser ambitions, some people have bigger ambitions. But what's important is it is a goal that you've set out for yourself. Where do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now? I encourage people to expand their horizons. I encourage people to look beyond the world that they see now. Because with lenses that we already have, sometimes our view of the world is incredibly limited. So my view is that as an educator, I have a responsibility to shatter those blinders, to open up a world of possibilities for the people. Because if they're not able to dream, if they're not able to foresee or perceive a world that's better, they can never achieve things in life.
Wow. Attorney, sunod tayo na question. 2 questions daw po sana, sabi ni Aldrin Flores. How would you push our Filipinos to exercise their right to vote? And what do you think is the most important prerequisite in choosing our leader and why?
Yung first question kay Billy Hackinson sa Miss Universe Philippines stage. And I would repeat some things that Billy said there. You know, we fought long and hard for our right to suffrage. Diba? Hindi naman yan basta-basta ibinigay lang sa atin. Yung mga ancestors po natin, they fought for our right to be independent para makamit natin ang ating kasarinlan. And that's not something that we should trivialize. And the right to suffrage is enshrined in the Constitution. It is your constitutionally mandated right to ensure that you exercise your vote every time there is an election. Why? Because you get to choose your own leaders. And this leads me to the second part of this question. Choosing your leaders is incredibly important. I would look at the moral core of an individual. I would look at his or her ethical, moral values. Has he or she been consistent about that throughout his or her life? Because if they're not consistent and we hear different things from them while they're campaigning, it means that they're only saying things that we want to hear. Consistency in these moral ethical values is key for me in choosing a leader for the Philippines.
Wow. Thank you so much, Attorney JV. Ayan.
Dami.
Ang dami nga eh. Shoutout po tayo kay Angel Himanga and sa tanan nga mga Ilonggos. Ilonggo man ko gali. So that is also why I'm really supporting Rabia. So mga Ilonggo da. So salamat gid. Nag-Ilonggo na ko atin.
Salamat, Gid.
Yeah. Maayong gabi lang gali sa inyo tanan. So thank you for joining us. And once again, promote natin, no, attorney. Thank you. To know more about the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, and the collaboration that we did, we had chances to Rabia on the YouTube channel, and hopefully after this, we will have more collaborations.
Yes.
So I'm really making YouTube videos on law school as well, mental health and well-being. Kasi I'm really passionate about mental health. But yung law school naman, parang after being elected, after finishing my term, as in ALSP National President, parang sabi ko, I want to help aspiring law students din. So attorney,
That's good.
attorney shared something about his law school journey. Di ba po, attorney? From corporate practice to the academe. So nandun po yun sa video na yun. So
Yes.
to know more about it, check it out. Ayan. Thank you so much. Ayun, ang dami pa.
Ang ganda ng comment ni Angel. Sagana sa sabaw ang utak, parang batchoy. Gusto ko yung batchoy, gusto ko ng Decos. Dali niyo ako sa Decos, I wanna fly to Iloilo.
Sana kapag okay
Yes.
na, attorney, pumunta ka dito. And,
Yes.
diba? Damo gid sang ma-welcome sa imo dire sa Iloilo. Alright, so let's get back to some of the questions before we go to our
Final question.
final question, and then of course we will wrap things off. Bilisan natin to, attorney, parang fast talk. Okay.
Sure.
Ayan. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I see myself still teaching in law school. I see myself having hundreds of queens already that I've trained in Aces and Queens for international pageants. I want to see at least one Miss Universe title in the 5 years, one Miss World, one Miss International title, at least in the 5 years. And I want to see myself being successful in my chosen career. I love what I'm doing right now in the pharmaceutical industry, and I see myself being part of that world.
Attorney, that was a question from Eliza. The next question is from Angel Himanga. If you have the power to rule the universe for one day, what law are you going to implement?
Universal basic income. Every single person should have an income from the government. Whether, because I think that the government should have the responsibility to provide jobs to its people. If it cannot, then I would want to see universal basic income.
And next question. Nawala na naman. Ayan. Sorry kasi biglang gumagano.
Yeah, I know.
Sundan na ka. Ayan. Ito tanong ni Balakubak, if you have all the time in the world, bakit hindi ka mamigay?
Because I'm selfish. Balakubak. And because time is only a social construct.
Tanong ni Gerald Peliesco, do you think that all women can join beauty pageant?
Of course. I think that the infinite variability of womanhood tells us that every single woman can be whoever they want to be. Do they want to be a beauty queen contestant? Absolutely. Do they want to be mothers? Absolutely. Do they want to be captains of industry? Absolutely. A woman can be whoever she wants to be.
Ayun. Attorney, kung pwede ka lang koronahan ngayon, di ba?
Thank you. Problema I don't look good in I don't look good in a swimsuit and in an evening gown, unlike Rabia.
And punta po tayo sa next question. I think this is a question that was asked to Miss Shamsi Supsup before. From Alberto Lorenzo Tanyag. Attorney, how would you answer this? Would you change your religious belief to marry the person that you love?
I would prioritize love. Yes, I believe that all religions are created equal. I believe that that any god, whatever religion you believe in, will be forgiving because love is what rules the world. And if you found the right person to love, your God should be able to forgive you for changing your religion. Because I believe in the universality of love. And all religions teach love.
Attorney, next question. How would you explain to a kindergarten the importance of gender equality?
It's a good question. You have to
That's from
let them
OORT Cloud. Yeah.
you have to let them experience love. You have to let them experience the fact that every single person has differences and that these differences do not make us less important. It makes us equal. Differences is what makes us individuals. Differences is what makes us people. And if we're able to show to that child these differences and meet these people, then I think that they will have an open mind and then they will grow up loving everyone regardless of who they love, regardless of who they are, what they are.
Wow. What question? Attorney, sabi ni Eliza Lorraine Patulot, anong tanong ang hindi mo kayang sagutin at bakit? What question you can't answer and why?
None. Mahirap yung tanong, Elisa, because it depends on the situation. Right? For example, if I'm dating someone and that person asks me if I love them when I'm not yet at that point, I cannot be able to answer that. But, there's always a time and a place for everything. And sometimes it's important to withhold your opinion. Sometimes it's important to not give an answer to a specific question. Because if that answer, whether it's a yes or a no, will be hurting someone else, I will not be able to answer that question.
Question from Hermie Likwan. Likwan, are you in favor for transgender women joining the Miss Universe Philippines?
Trans women are women. And yes, trans women should be able to compete toe-to-toe with other women on that stage.
And when every experience shape and influence us, how do you remain authentic?
You remain authentic by reminding yourself every day who you are. I have a journal every day that I write on. I have to remind myself because it's difficult. I understand that it's difficult to be true to who you are, especially when you're being pulled from left to right. When you're being pulled with the most difficult of situations, such as the COVID pandemic. Some of us, our ethical, our moral values have been tested by the pandemic. But if we remind ourselves every day of who we are, what values are close to our hearts, then we should be able to maintain that authenticity.
Ayun. Next question. Sige, shout out muna kay Medsray. Pareho gali kita dyan. Ang umanang rason why I support Rabi again. Hi sa mga Ilonggos who are watching right now. Sabi ni Tatiana, OMG, may hugot, ganun. May hugot ka na, attorney.
Don't ask me the med stud question, ha?
Yes.
That's something I cannot answer. I don't know yet.
Ayun. So, ayun na. I think in connection yan, what is the most difficult? Hindi. Parang ano yung question na hindi mo pwede masagot ngayon.
That's why I said, Alyssa, timing is key. Tanungin mo ako in January next year. May sagot na ako.
And kapag meron ng mga candidates, di ba?
Correct.
Question ni Jacob Letun. Ulit, hundreds of journalists across the world were jailed this year for writing stories that were critical of their governments. Why is freedom of the press important? This was asked to Miss Universe Puerto Rico.
Medyo unfair tong question na to, Jacob, for you because I'm a constitutional law professor and my law school thesis was on free speech. And free speech is my favorite topic in law school, in constitutional law. Free speech and ensuring that the marketplace of ideas is free from any interference is important, because that's where ideas come from. If you have limited media rather, if you have limited information that you can share, you will not solve the world's problems, because there will be a strict implementation of what ideas can perpetuate in the marketplace of ideas. The more ideas there are, even if they are extreme, it helps us filter the really good ideas. Right? So it is important. Even the bad, quote-unquote, dangerous ideas are essential in free speech, because those ideas push us to improve our narratives as a nation. It helps us improve our laws. It helps us improve our lives. Without the marketplace, without a free marketplace of ideas, there is no democracy.
Ayun. Proceed po tayo. In your opinion, should the mainstream pageants like Miss Universe allow overweight women to compete in relation to their respective BMI normal range? Sabi ni Wilson Anthony Castro.
Again, all women are born equal. All women are women, regardless of what gender was assigned to you at birth. Whether you are short, whether you're dark, whether you're tall, whether you have a higher BMI than others, you should be able to compete in Miss Universe. Hoy, JM, baka ang daming questions, baka wala na tayong second episode ng live Q&A with Attorney JB kasi nasagot na natin lahat.
Yan. So, Attorney, punta na po tayo sa last natin na past Miss U question. This was asked to Miss Catriona Gray, our Miss Universe 2018.
There, can you see it?
Sorry. Wait. Yeah, it's there. So, Attorney, the question is, Canada recently joined Uruguay as the second nation in the world to make marijuana legal. What is your opinion on the legalization of marijuana?
Controversial tong sagot ko na to. I think that marijuana as a recreational substance should be regulated. I think that in the same way that we've legalized the use of tobacco and alcohol, which are more dangerous for the body, I think that marijuana should be regulated. It's not as harmful as the other hard drugs. Some people will argue that it is a gateway drug. I disagree. That's not consistent with the research in other countries that have legalized recreational marijuana, including the US, including the Netherlands. So yes, I am for a regulated legalization of marijuana in the country.
Thank you so much, Attorney. Can we entertain a question pa ba, or let's
maybe last two questions.
Kasi
baka wala na tayong next episode.
Ito na lang. I think this is very relevant ngayon kasi because of the pandemic, maraming nahihirapan, to go to school or to study. Ito, sabi ni ang babaeng hat, what advice would you like to give to a 12-year-old boy who don't want to continue his studies?
That's good. These questions like these require a person to, bring the language down to a level that a 12-year-old or a 5-year-old, whatever age, could understand. I think a 12-year-old would respond to images. They would respond to images of poverty. I think they will respond to images of people who are having a difficult time getting a job, those who cannot fend for themselves and their family. I would show the 12-year-old these images. Obviously, it has to be age appropriate, because education and motivation to do something is at the core of individuals, right? It's in their psyche, right? So in order for you to encourage a 12-year-old to do that, you have to attack it from this level of the psyche. And if you show visceral images of poverty, if you show these visceral images that will really touch the core of the 12-year-old child, I think we'll be able to encourage him or her to continue his or her studies.
Wow. Attorney, last two question na lang po. Okay ba?
Sige, fine.
Pagbigyan natin si Medstad. Kasi may
Sige.
question siya kanina. Are you confident with the response of your country with the pandemic? If not, what are the things that you think should have been done to make it better?
Several things could have been done better. You know, hindsight is always 2020, JM. There were a lot of things that definitely could have been improved on. And I think that we should have started even before the pandemic began. You know, when the MERS COVID virus, when the Asian flu virus hit us before, that was already a warning sign for us as a country to have rules and protections in place in order to prevent the further spread of another pandemic. And that's what Taiwan did. They learned from the Asian flu virus. And what they did was there were better contact tracing in place. It was the technology was already in place. Testing facilities were already in place. And, you know, had we implemented these strict and scientifically driven decisions early on, I think we could have prevented the worst of the pandemic. But again, at the end of the day, you know, hindsight is 2020. I think that at this point, there's no point, you know, looking to the past and blaming people for what has happened. I think what's important is that we look forward and we make sure that we no longer suffer the worst effects of the pandemic right now. We should speed up the vaccination efforts. We should definitely insist on wearing the masks in public, making sure that we make sure that all of these protections are put in place and followed strictly by the people.
Ayun. Thank you so much, Attorney. Thank you, Medstud, for your question. Ayun. Sige, last question na lang tayo kay Mel JB Lucky One. And I think this is something that is, you know, very close to my heart, yung sa mental health advocacy. The effect and widespread use of social media has been linked to mental health issues. So what will be your advice as responsible adults knowing that work and school environment are now online? So I think most of us are now, you know, virtually connected. We have shifted to the new normal of education, even in law school. So what is your take on this matter?
Yeah. First of all, Neil, the question is difficult because there are two concepts that you included in one question. The question on social media as the first part of the question, and the second one specifically to the work from home situation. I mean, those are two different concepts. And so I would answer it specifically to what resonates to me the most, which is what is my advice to people that are working from home. I can definitely relate to this. I am suffering from cabin fever. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel, JM. I think it's appropriate that we ask this question as the last question for the night because that's really one of the reasons why I'm here on YouTube right now. This has been helping me, you know, reach people because I'm an extrovert, and not being able to, you know, go out with friends on a regular daily basis, not being able to see my office mates, not being able to work with them in a room with a whiteboard with whiteboard markers has been an incredibly taxing experience for me. So I absolutely understand where everyone is coming from. I'm lucky that I have all of the resources that I need to work from home effectively. Not everyone has that. So, you know, really I have very little to complain about. But even then, we have to make sure that we protect our mental health. We look for avenues that help us, you know, improve our well-being. I started my YouTube channel because of that, and it has actually helped me stave off the worst effects of the pandemic and being stuck at home. Find new ways to enjoy yourself. Plant, you know, there's so many plantitas out there right now. If it makes you happy, go for it. If you want to start your YouTube channel, go for it. If you wanna get a plant or a pet rather, and have that relationship with your pet, go for it. There's a lot of creative ways we can get through this together.
Ayun, thank you so much, Attorney JV, for answering that wonderful question and answering all the questions of our audience.
Nakakapagod pala to.
Parang nakaka-drain din, Attorney, no? Pero that was a fun, I think this was a fun episode and marami tayong na-learn din sa mga sagot mo. And parang it only shows that Attorney JV really ano nga ba yung tawag doon na parang can walk the talk? Alam mo yun, you are training someone kasi ikaw mismo alam mo kung paano siya sagutin. So, that was Attorney JV. So, segue na rin ako. Of course, I'll take this opportunity to thank you, Attorney JV. I enjoyed a lot. So, I also have my YouTube channel, John Michael Suelo. So, please do follow and subscribe. We also had our collaboration with Attorney JV, no? Meron kami doon chances ni Rabia Mateo sa Miss Universe. And of course, meron din tayo doon meron ding mga contents about mental health. We talk about doon, general depressive disorder, attempting to commit suicide, mga ganun. Basta. And of course, about law school.
You have really good content, JM. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to watch JM's content also. It's not just for law students, actually. There's so many inspiring stories there. You also had an episode on HIV AIDS.
Yes.
You're right, you have a lot of episodes on mental health. So it's not just for law students. It's primarily, since you're a law student, that's what the content is for. But it's much more than just a page for law students. So go check JM out on IG, on YouTube, and on Facebook.
Ayun. And thank you so much ulit sa lahat ng viewers. Alam ko marami po sa inyo na mga question na hindi na po natin nabasa talaga lahat kasi baka ubusan po talaga. Pero of course, we thank you for joining us tonight and we hope to have a part 2 siguro, no, sooner or later to entertain more of your questions. And I think this was well accepted din ng ating mga viewers kasi na-maintain po natin yung number of viewers for the past hour and we extended pa nga. So, thank you so much po. Continue to support lang po yung YouTube channel ni Attorney JV. And Attorney, I'll turn it over to you and hoping na one day matrain mo rin ako sa interview, Attorney. Sa Q&A.
Hindi natanggap ang aces and queens ng male pageants, but pwedeng, naman. I mean, we are friends and definitely as a friend, I'll definitely help you achieve whatever goals you may have. But, I think one of the things we want to ask from you guys, and please comment on this channel, please comment here, also on my IG account, anong topics ang gusto nyong i-discuss namin sa live Q&A with Attorney JV? Do you want to have a focused episode on on political questions? Do you want a specific day for personality questions on whatever question there might be? We started with Miss Universe questions tonight, but the content will become more in-depth in the future and more focused on specific topics that are close to our hearts as Filipinos. So please continue commenting and liking this channel. Share it also, guys, para we can reach more people with our conversations. JM, thank you so much for helping me for hosting the show tonight. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to have you here on live Q&A with Attorney JV. And yes, this is not the last time we will be collaborating. Thank you, JM. So guys, there you have it. Thank you for joining us on the first episode of Live Q&A with Attorney JB. I hope you liked all of our conversations tonight. I hope you liked my answers. I hope you learned something tonight also about me and about things that are close to my heart. Please, again, like and subscribe this channel. Like, subscribe, and comment on this channel. Share it as well. And then tell us what you want to see more on this channel. So guys, thank you so much. And arigatou gozaimasu.